Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you could join me here today. My name is Heidi Roth. I'm a registered dietitian, and our topic today is healthy appetizers that you can very quickly and very easily make, and that are just wonderful for summer entertaining. So we will go ahead and get started. I know that one of you asked if the recipes are going to be available anywhere, and Andrea just posted it in the chat box. So thank you for that, Andrea. And before we leave, we'll be posting it again in case anyone joined after that was posted. So you all have it ready to go. All right, so one of the first things that I'm going to make today is a roasted garbanzo beans or roasted chickpeas. These are one of my favorite things, and I love them for so many reasons. Number one, it uses chickpeas. Chickpeas are one of my favorite type of beans, and they're really, they're high in fiber, they're high in folate. One of the vitamins though, that they're really, really high in is vitamin B6. Does anyone know what vitamin B6 is kind of known for, or why we need vitamin B6 so much? If you do, put it in the chat box. And if I don't see it in a couple of minutes, I'll give you the answer to that. All right, so I've got 1 can of my garbanzo beans or chickpeas, and I rinsed them and drained them. And now I'm just going to add in about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. You can just you can measure out a tablespoon, you can give it a little glug, whatever works for you. The more oil you use on it, kind of the crispier they get sometimes. Now I have my oven turned on to 400 degrees, and I'm just gonna add in now a little bit of cracked pepper. Add that. And then a little bit of salt as well. And, you know, I would estimate, I just do a couple grinds of the salt, but I would estimate about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. But kind of, you know, when you cook enough, you kind of know what salt works and what doesn't. So kind of just do it to your taste. So I'm going to kind of roll these around a little bit. And the nice thing about these is they kind of, as they roll around, they do kind of disperse some of the oil. And then as much as possible, try and have them like kind of socially distanced on the pan. The bigger pan you use, the more crispy they'll get. And so the more kind of they're spread out, the more roasted they'll get. If they're all bunched together on a small pan, they're not going to roast as well, and they're not going to get kind of as crispy. So basically, what you're looking for, the texture that I really like with these, is that they kind of really crispy on the outside, but then they're still kind of soft and tender on the inside, and they're just really so delicious. All right, so 400-degree oven. I'm going to go ahead and throw them in, and then we'll go ahead and make our Greek 7-layer dip. Okay, so we're going to keep those in about 15-20 minutes until they're kind of roasted and nice and brown. So I didn't see any answers into my question about B6. And B6, I've been talking a lot about lately because B6 is one of the major B vitamins that's used to make neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine. And so it's a really important vitamin. And they found that people with low levels of B6 are more prone to anxiety and depression. So it's not a vitamin that you want to be low in. 1 serving of chickpeas has about 2/3 of the daily value of B6. So it's a really, really great source of vitamin B6. So one more reason to eat some chickpeas. Okay, so this, now we're going to do our Greek 7-layer dip. So it's 7 layers, and it is a bottom layer of yogurt. We're going to use an organic Greek yogurt. Now, if you are 100% plant-based, then just don't keep it off. Don't add in the yogurt, and I would just double the amount of the hummus that you're going to use. So that's our next thing, is we're going to just use some hummus, also some more chickpeas. And then we'll use some roasted red peppers. If you don't have any roasted red peppers, you could just substitute some regular red peppers, fresh red peppers. They'll add just a little bit of extra crunch. And then some sliced Kalamata olives and cucumber, and then feta cheese on the top. So get out a pretty platter. With this recipe is for kind of a smaller serving. So if you're making this for a large party, a large number of people, you could use a 9x13 baking dish. You could use just a much larger platter. But sometimes you just kind of want to, maybe you have just 1 or 2 people over and you just want it to be small, or maybe it's just you and your family, and you don't want any sort of big production either. So just use a smaller platter. So I'm going to use about 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt, and kind of just estimating that. You can certainly measure it out, but if you get a little more, a little less, it's going to be okay. And the Greek, obviously, you want to use a plain yogurt. I don't know how well vanilla would really mix in with Kalamata olives, so make sure it's a plain Greek yogurt. And the Greek yogurt is nice because it has a really good consistency. It's going to be a little bit thicker than just a regular yogurt, regular plain yogurt. And you don't have to make it perfect, kind of just smooth it out to, the best of your ability. And so that's layer number 1. So we got some protein right there. And now we're going to add in about the same amount of hummus, maybe a little tiny bit more or less, depending on what your preferences are. And I'm going to try to get it so that you can still see a little bit of the yogurt underneath. And so I'm just going to kind of smooth that out. It's kind of fun when you can see some of the different layers in here. But, once again, you can spend as much or as little time as you want getting it perfectly all smoothed out. But for our purposes today, I think that's pretty good. So we'll smooth that out. Okay, this dip is like so quick, so easy to make. And it's typically things that you might have in your pantry or in your fridge, right? Typically, a lot of us have Greek yogurt in our fridge. You may or may not have hummus, but easy enough to pick up. And then these are just the pantry items here, the roasted red peppers and the olives. Now, if you don't have olives, you could use something like capers, would actually be really good in there too, or some artichoke hearts. So this is kind of just Mediterranean flavors. Use something along those flavor profile, and you could very easily switch something else in instead if you didn't have these exact ingredients, or you just leave it out. So adding in some of my olives, and these, I was pretty excited when I found these. These are sliced Kalamata olives, so they're ready to go. You don't have to do any chopping, any slicing. I used to use these a lot when I would do like in-person food demos. And sometimes I would do like a demo for like 400 people, and I would spend the night beforehand like pitting and chopping olives. So I was very happy when these came out in my local grocery store, that so quick and easy. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of sprinkle a couple olives on there, about a 1/4 cup. You can do a little more, a little less. What I should have done probably is drain them before, with the amount that I was going to use beforehand, but that's okay. So we have those. And then we're going to chop up some of our roasted red peppers. Now, if you are a gardener and you have a bumper crop of peppers, you can roast them yourself. Super easy to do. You can see like a little bit of the charred bits of roasted red pepper in there. Put these on a grill, lower the grill lid, and kind of grill them and let them steam a little bit too. And then you kind of rub them between your hands and take off the skin, and you can make your own roasted red peppers. And then, you know, they're just great way to use up some of the peppers from your garden. Now these are pretty big, so I am going to not use all of this. These are nice because these are actually the whole red pepper. So if you're making like an appetizer plate, like an antipasto plate, they're really pretty because they're big slices of the roasted pepper. But I'm going to cut these into smaller pieces, and I'm going to kind of quickly chop them up and put them on top. And I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle them on top. There we go. And it provides a nice little bit of extra color. And, you know, if you had some fresh herbs, like some fresh oregano would be lovely on here. Some fresh basil, you could always, parsley. It would add to the nutritional value of it, and also just taste and make it delicious as well. But if you're going for quick and easy, you know, keep the original ingredients, and then you don't have to do more. I've got my cucumber here. And so I'm going to go ahead and flip my cutting board over, maybe just chop up my cucumber quick. And actually, I'm going to use my big knife. This is my big 8-inch chef's knife. And I talk about this a lot. So if you've seen one of my videos before, you know, you can kind of maybe just not have to listen for the next 30 seconds. But this is the 8-inch chef's knife is one of the most important knives in your kitchen. You're going to use it so much. So basically, you want a chef's knife, and then you can do also like a small little paring knife as well. And these are like the workhorses that will get so much stuff done. I know I'm waving my knife around here, so you're probably glad you're not here with me in person. So with your chef's knife, always hold it like you're shaking hands with it. And that's where you get the most power and the most stability from it. So with my cucumber, I'm just going to kind of make a couple slices in it. And then just very quickly chop it up. So we're looking for about a 1/4 cup of sliced cucumber here. I should have gotten a bigger cutting board, but okay. So, and once again, if you have a little bit more, a little bit less, this is your appetizer. You add in more of the stuff you love, and stuff that you don't love so much, you keep out or just use less of it. Okay, so, and there we go. We've got 6 layers right now. So if you were doing plant-based, then once again, you keep off the yogurt, just add more of the hummus. And then we're gonna add some feta cheese on top. And that will kind of be just our kind of, just a nice little addition there, a little bit of nice salt and cheese. And I forgot to get that out beforehand. It's always one thing I seem to forget to get out. So this is just, you know, your crumbled feta, and put it on top and use the rest. You know, the rest of the feta, you can make like a whipped feta dip, make a Greek salad, put it on there. There's also, if you Google like shrimp with feta and tomatoes, that's a delicious recipe as well. So there's a lot of different ways to use up the feta cheese if you have some extra of it left over. And the other thing that you can do with feta, like let's say you're going to leave on vacation, you just opened this big thing of feta, what to do with it. You can also throw it in your freezer. Now, the texture of it will change, but if you're using it for like a baked tomatoes and feta or something like that, the texture doesn't matter. So food is getting really expensive. And so whatever you can do sometimes to kind of save some of it and find different ways to use it. So I frequently freeze a lot of cheeses, and then I just use them for different casseroles and things that I would bake. And there you go. Like, how long did that take me? Maybe 10 minutes, not even, because I was talking. And so here is our 7-layer Greek dip. Now, this is very much like perhaps you have had before a 7-layer Mexican dip that has the refried beans, the guac, and it's just kind of basically the same thing, but different flavor profile. So this is really delicious. Now, you could use some cucumbers to get more plants in there and serve it with some sliced cucumbers. So we could put some of those on the side here, just as, kind of things to dip it in. You could use some pita chips, would be very typical as well. Or even just some tortilla chips. So these are some of the blue corn, organic blue corn tortilla chips. That's why they're purple colored, because they're blue corn. And you could put some of those on the side to serve it with, or just have a basket on the side. And there we go. There's our dip. Now I'm going to pull out my chickpeas. Well, actually, maybe I'll give them another minute or so. While I tell you about the toppings. Once the chickpeas come out of the oven, I think they're best eaten right away. I really like them when they're still hot. Sometimes people ask me, well, like, how long do these chickpeas last for? And a lot of times I say, I don't even know, because I love them so much and my family loves them so much. A lot of times they don't even make it off the pan. So sometimes if we're all starving and I'm trying to get dinner on the table, I'll roast these, leave them on the pan, and then kind of people will kind of pick at them while we're making dinner. And they never kind of make it off the pan because everyone eats the entire can. So I'm going to put some curry as my seasoning for this. You could use any type of seasoning that you wanted to. You could use some oregano and sprinkle some oregano on there, maybe some Italian herbs, a little bit of dried basil. You could go more of like a Southwestern type of seasoning, and you could do a little bit of chili powder, tiny bit of chipotle powder on them. My favorite is curry. And this is just your basic curry. This is from a spice store that we have here in Arlington. It's one of my favorite spice stores. So if you're in Arlington, come and take a visit. It's a fun spice store to go to. There's also one in Cambridge called the Curio Spice Company, and they both have really high quality spices. But so I'm going to use the curry. And the nice thing about curry is the first ingredient in curry is turmeric. And turmeric, as we know, is amazing for our brain health and for decreasing inflammation. Now, the other thing that you could do too, that I might do as well, is sprinkle a little bit of this garam masala on this. This is also another Indian spice. It's similar to curry, but it almost tastes like it's more along the flavor profile, almost of, dare I say, like a pumpkin spice. It has things like cinnamon in it, cloves, ginger, nutmeg, cardamom, in addition to coriander, caraway. So it has like all these amazing spices in it that do so much for our health. So typically garam masala is a lot of times mixed with a curry powder into like a 1-to-1 ratio. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll go get my chickpeas. Clear off that counter a little bit. Okay. So I'm actually going to bring these over to, okay. So these were in for about 15 minutes, and you can see they lost some of their kind of liquid. They're a little smaller, and they're also kind of a roasted brown color. So that's what we're looking for. So now basically, you just kind of want to pile them in the center, and we're going to add in a little bit of our spice. And you can add in as much spice as you want, depending on how much you do or don't like the spices that you add. Oh, also another one that you could do is like Old Bay seasoning. That one would be amazing as well. So if you are from the Maryland area and you have ever had that like on crabs or seafood, it's really also a nice kind of spice mixture. So I've got my garam masala and also my curry, and you could just use curry. If you don't have the other spice, just the curry alone would be delicious, or whatever spice you like. So we're just going to kind of mix these around. So they're crunchy and salty and so good. I know, having a hard time stopping eating these. For my taste, I like them especially salty. So I'm going to add in a little extra salt. And then if you're making these for your family, you just leave them on the pan. But if you're making these for like an appetizer to serve to guests, I would put them on a plate to serve them. And you could add in maybe like a little something on the side to make it pretty. But here is our chickpeas. There you go. You can see they've got a little bit of that curry seasoning on them, and they're so good warm. You can also eat them when they're not warm. You can also just kind of let them cool and serve them. But as they cool, they do lose some of that crispness. So they won't quite be. I like them best warm, but once again, however you like it is the way that you should serve it. So can everyone see that we have the recipes in the chat box? I see, okay. So I'm seeing one person says no. They should, that's weird. Is anyone else not seeing the recipes, or can other people see them? Okay, so I see that it was just posted again. So if you joined after they were posted the first time, you wouldn't have seen them. So Andrea just reposted it, so you should be able to see those. The other thing that we could do too is, if you want, you can just, I don't know if you can take like a screenshot of this. Also, you could do that. The recipes are posted in the chat box, so that's where they should be. And hopefully, I think Andrea just posted it again as well. So if you go to the chat box, it's there. You should be able to download it and get the recipes. Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any other ways that they make some of these? Would love to hear any comments that you have. Does this look like something that's easy to make and that you would do? Always love to hear what people's thoughts are. Anything that you want to see next time, and for us to do a food demo, that's also, you can also let us know that too. Okay. So somebody here asked, what are other sources of vitamin B6? So you do find some vitamin B6 in bananas. You also find B6 in things like fish and meat and poultry. Actually, poultry is a really good, chicken is a good source of B6. And you do find B6 in other legumes as well, other types of beans. But the highest amount of B6 in terms of the plant family, as far as I know, I believe is garbanzo beans. They are really, really great source of B6. So you can get B6 in different places too. So if you like bananas, that's one of the fruits that has a good source of B6. And you know, if you are on, I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you are on an oral contraceptive, or maybe one of your children is, nieces, whatever, there's the oral contraceptives can also cause a decreased levels of B6. So that is something to think about. And there's been some studies that have suggested sometimes, you know, making sure that you're getting enough B6, especially if you're on an oral contraceptive, to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts. So there was a study that was just published that showed decreased anxiety amongst young women that were taking a B6 supplement. So, but I always think it's best from food. If you can get it from food, that's always the first place to get it from. All right, great question. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. Thank you all for joining me here today, and hope you have a great rest of your week and a great summer ahead too. And that you're able to serve some of these at your summer barbecues and get-togethers as well. All right. Until next time then. Thanks, everyone.